Welcome to another episode of the House Huddle Podcast. Here are your hosts, Rob Schwartz and Justin Onayemi, two Bears fans who decided talking into a microphone was better than shouting at their television. What's up, House Huddlers? Huddle up. Yeah, we're off a little. That's okay. It's a rough game to be coming back from. Rough game to be talking about. The Bears just lost 20-19 to the Green Bay Packers. And I feel sick to my stomach. It has nothing to do with, it has a little bit to do with the game, but I am having a bit of a Crohn's flare up right now. So I am a little bit under the weather. We'll power through this as quickly as possible, but I apologize. We might cut this a little short. What is there to talk about anyway?
I know. When you first started, Rob, I was like, he doesn't even have to say what game it is. This is just how we start every episode.
3 games in a row, winning the turnover battle. 3 losses is the outcome.
All right, we're going to talk about that later because that's not how you win games.
No, it's not. But you know how you do win games? You win games by going to our sign-up page, sponsored by BetStamp, and trying to identify what sports books you don't have already, that you haven't signed up for already, right? Find out what's there, what the best sign-up offers are, what the best odds are. And you could do that by going to our sign-up page at signupexpert.com/huddle. And you choose the winner of each game, right? You make that choice. You put your money out there. Just bet responsibly and have a little bit of fun.
Well, it won't help you win games, but it could help you win a jersey. Like and subscribe. Well, subscribe, really, to our channel because when we get to 700 subscribers, we're pretty close. We will be doing a jersey giveaway. Any jersey of your choice. Can't be custom made, but we wanted it to be a Bears jersey. I don't know. Any NFL jersey is yours if you're the lucky winner. So go ahead and subscribe so we can give that jersey away.
Yeah, watch it be a Packers fan, and we have to buy and sell a Packers jersey. Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey, you know what, though? I will say there was a lot to like in this game, but ultimately, there's still a lot to not like about the overall of what this team is producing. And of course, this horrific trend of losing to the Packers. This is the 11th straight, most in the whole rivalry that a team has lost in a row. So that's another nice little thing for the Bears to take claim to at this point. Pretty heartbreaking loss when it really comes down to it. And I think that in a way is going to overshadow a lot that there was to like throughout this game. So where do you want to start, Rob?
I mean, I guess we talk about the positives first.
Well, let's go right away, because coming into this week, the big thing that everyone's eyes was going to be on is you fired Shane Waldron, you replaced him with Thomas Brown. What would the effect be? Could there even be a tangible difference changing coordinators mid-season? And I would say it was a major difference. There was a lot more flow to the offense. At one point, it said the Bears, and the reason I say at one point, I don't know if it ended this way, but they had 5 drives of 10 or more plays. Not as much shooting themselves in the foot. It did help to have 2 starting tackles back. I know Shane Waldron's final game was a complete and utter disgrace, but the line was atrocious last week. And so getting Darnell Wright back and Braxton Jones, I think, was helpful. Braxton Jones had an amazing block on DeAndre Swift's touchdown, and once again was bull rushed on that final drive where Caleb Williams took that longer of the 2 sacks he took on the final drive. So we'll come back to that when we get to the negatives, I guess. But I liked the way Thomas Brown called the game. I thought there was a lot of flow. And Caleb Williams was getting rid of the ball. He was decisive, and players were being schemed open. The ball was being distributed nicely around. Not saying we weren't seeing that before. And so like I said, it was exciting up until when it was devastating. But what did you see, Rob? What were some of your takeaways?
Yeah, I was trying to find it, but I want to say I'm gonna keep looking because I don't want to say the wrong stats. But there was definitely an impact. There was definitely an impact from Thomas Brown taking over, right? Okay, just from the eye test, some of the things that you had mentioned truly were a difference maker in this game. Getting the ball out quick. To me, why it hasn't been happening this way already, I can't tell you. The only thing I can think of is the communication that was coming from Waldron, right? Like that's the one thing that has been a clear difference that we have heard since the change is just how direct and how much better of a communicator Thomas Brown is. So maybe that's all it is, right? Like, hey, look, I know you're trying to get the deep ball here, but I just want you to focus on this guy here, right? Maybe they're changing who the first read is in the offense. You can't change the whole playbook, obviously. They've been working on this since March, but you can change up little things. Maybe that's what's going on.
Well, they really wanted to get DJ Moore the ball in ways that he would be successful.
Yeah.
And that happened and was apparent. They stuck with the run. I mean, I was watching the game with my son, and he was frustrated by how the lack of success in the run game. And I said, but they're sticking with it.
Yep.
What about the fact that he allowed Caleb Williams to run the ball? Some of those were scrambles, but a lot of them were design runs or options, at least, where he kept the ball. He had his best rushing performance of his career, and it wasn't like he was out there taking hits.
No.
Every time the one on the sideline, which I think he was more so just trying to get a flag, which he did. But Green Bay was getting a little chippy right off the bat because they had already shoved 2 Bears out of bounds and not been called. But getting Caleb involved with his feet, third down conversions. I mean, coming into the season, or coming into this game, I should say, I believe they were under 30%, like 29% success rate. Today, 9 for 16 on third downs and 3 for 3 on fourth down. Huge fourth down that was beautiful at the end there. But time of possession, 36 minutes to about 24, just under 24 for the Packers. You outgained them, more first downs, good balance between the run and the pass. These are all things we should be saying of a victory. And of course, like you mentioned, they won the turnover battle. I mean, if that was the only thing it took to win, maybe Eberflus his win-loss record would be about reversed or something. But I mean, that's not all it takes to win, as we definitely know.
Yeah, so I found the stat that I was looking for. This is via Next Gen Stats of NFL, obviously. So quick time to throw. At halftime, Caleb Williams was averaging 1.92 seconds for time to throw. The quickest time to throw by any QB in a game this season with minimum of 10 attempts. I don't know where he ended up, but look, when you have a bad offensive line, you got to get the ball out fast. And it makes the offensive line's job easier. It makes them look a hell of a lot better, right? Like, was this just because they got Braxton Jones and Darnell Wright back? No. It was the concept that they were getting the ball out fast that made the difference. His average yards per attempt, like air yards per attempt, was super low. We're talking like this is Jaden Daniels in the beginning of the year type stuff. Even lower than that, 1.7 air yards per attempt. 79 of his 85 passing yards came after the catch.
Was that by the end of the game?
Half. Just at half.
Okay. I was going to say.
But look at what that did, though, that it opened up in the second half. Look at the deep ball to Komet that was beautifully placed.
And the pocket that was there for him to step in and make that throw.
Yes, play action starts working properly. You talked about the design runs for Caleb. When he went to go do the option, and the camera thought that Rojo still had the ball. No.
Caleb. Well, and getting Roschon Johnson involved in the offense was another big change that I noticed. Let me see if I can pull up real quick. Roschon Johnson, care to guess how many carries?
12.
A little under 10.
Okay.
But to me, that's a lot more than we've been seeing of him. I mean, he only averaged 3.3 per carry. He had the touchdown, obviously. And he had a couple catches too, I want to say.
He had
Oh
one,
no, just the one. That was
just the one, but it was
pretty
a huge catch.
very important. So I was impressed with the flow of the offense. Romo Dunze had some good opportunities, especially in that final drive. And to me, it had all the makings of this was the game where you see Caleb lead them to a victory, or Odunze come up big in a drive to win a game, a division game nonetheless. But it takes more than that. And as I'm saying that, Caleb Williams already did that in Washington, and you found a way to lose that game too. And so when you see all these quarterbacks, how many times did they rally their team, come from behind victories, all this stuff? Those are all stats that start to accumulate. But it's not necessarily his fault that these aren't turning into W's. And we can talk about where the fault lies. And in our text thread, I mean, I definitely feel the last drive should have gone differently. And we can talk about that at the appropriate time. Any other big picture stuff before we kind of break down that part?
Yeah, I mean, the team's still, I don't want to think that there's a chance, but they're still in the thick of it. It's shocking, but as of right now, they are basically 14th based off of tiebreakers. Now, Cincinnati's playing right now, so that's going to make a difference. Dallas is playing tomorrow night. That can make a difference. Those two teams are below them. But at 4-6, they're one of four.
Well, I'm looking right now. Right now, Commanders have the 7 seed at 7-4. There's a lot of teams 5-5, 5-5, 5-5. But to get all the way up to 7 wins, and you're sitting at 4, not to mention you actually lost to that team. And you look at the teams right now in the wild card. They haven't played the Vikings yet. That's next week. You just lost to the Packers. You lost to the Commanders. Up above them, you have the Cardinals. Who knows if they'll hold on to the division that they currently lead, but you lost to them. So, I mean, like I said last week, you're closer to the number 1 pick than you are to the playoffs. But today's game, they looked like they were in it, but you can't just keep looking like you are. You have to actually close and finish. And I think it comes down to, too often, Matt Eberflus-led teams are playing not to lose rather than to win.
That's the key.
He always talks about complementary football, and he's a defensive guy. And especially when Waldron was at the helm, it looked like Williams was trigger shy, didn't want to always double clutching, because in his mind he's thinking, I can't turn the ball over. What about making a play? I'm tired of hearing about complementary football. You look all over the NFL, teams are just pushing the ball, trying to score. You mentioned it. I don't remember if it was with Bob or with our episode, but Darnold throws 3 picks, they win. Goff throws 5 picks, they win. You're pushing the limit constantly, and the Bears are the opposite. They just always trying to hit the brakes and play conservatively. There were a few examples of that today, but definitely on the final drive, I feel you saw it happen. I mean, Santos, to me, is not a modern-day NFL kicker. He's fairly accurate, but he doesn't have the booming leg.
Yep.
And you're sitting there just like letting time tick away so he could take a 46-yarder. I mean, it ended up getting blocked, but a guy who doesn't have that big of a leg kicking from 46, he's probably still kicking it pretty hard and at a lower trajectory than if you let him go take a chip shot. I believe he's never missed under 40 yards. Well, since being with the Bears, 70 for 70, under 40 yards. You would have had to gain 6 yards, 7 yards to make that the situation. Meanwhile, that drive, Caleb Williams was already clicking and making good decisions with the ball.
Well, after the 2 back-to-back sacks.
No. Hold on. The first sack, he tried to step up, and it closed on him, and he only lost a single yard. The second sack was completely Braxton Jones, once again, high pad level, getting bull rushed, which we've seen I don't know how many times. And that was a disaster because you started at the 30 with 2:59 on the clock. Now you're at the 2-minute warning in 3rd and 19. And he made 2 amazing plays to get you out of that.
Yeah, the throw to Odunze, I'm just set up 4th and short.
Both of those throws were very, very impressive. Then he hits Keenan Allen to the left.
Yep.
At that point, you were in field goal range, but you still had 35 seconds and a timeout. I feel like you could have pushed the ball a little bit further. Talking about risk of fumble, risk of interception. This is a team that hasn't turned the ball over in 4 weeks, but they also haven't won a game in 4 weeks. So it's not all about that. And it's almost like the reverse in my mind of against Washington, acting like, before the Hail Mary, those yards didn't matter. Those yards didn't matter. Every yard matters when it comes to a finishing play. And so I was very disappointed. I thought they could have pushed it a little harder there, made it an easier field goal. Could he have missed? Could he have triple doinked? I don't know. It's starting to seem like they are literally cursed when it comes to playing the Packers. But you played well enough to win. You dominated them in many statistical categories. And again, the defense only gave up 20. And on paper, you could say they played a great game, but I don't know. They didn't generate that much pressure at key times in the game where we needed them to step up. Never. They let up points, and they let them up fast.
Yes.
So I don't want to act like the defense was phenomenal today, but it was good enough to win, and so was the offense, and it's another loss.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on it already, but you have 2 games now where Caleb Williams sets you up to either be in the lead and then have to maintain that lead, or gets you to the point where you're going to kick a game-winning field goal. This is twice now in the last 4 weeks that Caleb Williams did his job, the offense did their job, and your coach fucked everything else up. Excuse my language, but he fucked everything else up. The Hail Mary situation was just awful. Okay? Absolutely awful decision-making, just like you touched on. And it wasn't just the Hail Mary, it was the 2 plays leading up to the Hail Mary, especially the play directly before the Hail Mary, right? Like, that was just awful. Then you have this situation. There's 32 seconds left. You have a timeout. It's not even about putting the ball at the hash mark. Like, I saw Patrick Manley put out a tweet saying that Cairo Santos likes the ball on the right hash. Why are you not putting it there? And you do see teams where they'll literally just snap the ball, run to that side, and slide, right? And just put their kicker in the spot that they prefer. That wasn't the issue here. The damn ball hit the crossbar, even though it got tipped.
I think it hit the field. I thought it hit the crossbar when I looked, but I think it was a deception in the angle of the camera or something.
I mean, it definitely hit the crossbar. So if it hit the field, it bounced real high. Because I watched from the end zone replay after the game.
Okay. Well, I want to say one more thing. And I mean, we could do woulda, coulda, shoulda the whole time for every game. But you could have had 2 timeouts. The challenge of the Watson catch, the ball never shifted or anything. And you had plenty of time to decide if you wanted to challenge that because of how long of a play that was. And I just feel like that was I'm challenging this because I don't want it to be a catch. Not to mention, at that point in the game, again, the defense needed to make a stand and didn't. But you let them down the field that fast. Now it is about conserving the time and conserving your timeouts, knowing that you're going to need to come down and score again. Because even the Love play where they challenged to say he scored, I'm sitting there thinking, I hope they say he did score, because that just gives us more time to try to mount the comeback. But, I wasn't too upset in that very moment, but you can't just challenge something because you didn't like it. Nothing about that replay showed that it was going to be overturned. And they said the call stands. They didn't say it was confirmed or anything like that. It's just there was nothing there worthy of a challenge, basically.
Right. He just constantly makes the wrong choice when it comes to throwing the challenge flag. It's either he keeps it in his pocket when he should be throwing it, or he's throwing it when he shouldn't be. I swear to God, he literally thinks that timeouts too, by the way, are PTO days for a good PTO benefit where you can actually roll them over. But that doesn't work for most companies. Your PTO days, if you don't use them, you lose them. Same with timeouts. If you don't use them, you'll lose them. We watched the Packers take a timeout, and then they came back and did a booth review. But earlier in the game, like we were talking about it, where we were like, well, why didn't he challenge it? Well, it was that at that point in the second quarter where Komet, was it Komet? Who almost crossed the line? I'm blanking on who ran the ball.
I forgot.
Then they ended up running and they scored it anyway, so it didn't matter. I think it was Roschon Johnson.
Johnson, yes.
Yeah, it was Roschon, and then he ended up getting the touchdown anyway, right? So like we were like, look, it crossed, but you're not throwing it. Why aren't you throwing it? Well, it should have been a booth review. But just take your time out there. If that's the case, all you got to do is take a time out for the booth to actually consider checking it. Do that. Like, it's just the concept of when to take them. He's afraid. Greg Bragg said it correctly. Okay. He said Matt Eberflus plays scared. He plays scared. And it's now breaking off onto the team because even the team's playing scared. But today you saw some of these guys not play scared. You literally saw Caleb Williams staying out on the field. You saw the offense wanting to stay out on the field. They had the kicking team coming in. If it wasn't for the players pushing to stay out there, I think Eberflus would have kicked the damn ball. Did it matter in the end because did they score? No. But it was something to see these guys do something and get that fourth down conversion.
So what about the second to last drive? The Bears kind of stalled out, and it was, I think, 4th and 2. I'm trying to look up right now what position on the field they were at. But the idea, I guess, was let's punt, let's pin them. And
they were around the 50.
Right.
You're talking about when they took the delay of game?
Yes.
And yeah, they were right
trying
around
to get them off sides, which you didn't do a good job, in my opinion, of really trying to entice them. And then in the first half, your team jumps at a critical time.
Yeah.
So not playing disciplined football, hits principle, whatever you want to say. They were at the Green Bay 49, so just crossed the 50. Now, obviously, any decision can be second-guessed because if you decide to go for it there, don't get it, they score, you lose, everyone's going to say, whoa, what a knucklehead. But back to the idea, playing to win versus playing not to lose, the more aggressive teams, the Detroit Lions, who you're looking way, way up at this point, they go for it there. And as I said before, you were 9 for 16 on third down conversions. You were 3 for 3 on fourth down conversions. It wasn't like it was 4th and 8. It was 4th and 2 or 4th and 3. And I don't remember at the 4 minutes and 27 seconds on the clock at that point. And you had a 5-point lead. You get that first down. Minimum, you're probably headed towards a field goal, which would put you up 8 and basically clinch the game. You score a touchdown, game over. That's not how he thinks. It's back to this complementary football. I mean, I get it conceptually, or, it's nice words to say, but has that been working for you, Eberflus? Has that been working for the Chicago Bears? And as I keep saying, as good as the defense is, when it really seems to matter, they often let down their end of the complementary football. And whether that's because they're on the field too long, which isn't the case today, that was not the case today. But I'm tired of hearing that and getting losses. If you're winning, if you're sitting with a 8-2 record right now, then yeah, you guys seem to have found the recipe. But you're losing close games. You've done that this season. You did that last season. It's time to re-envision how this all can work, because it's not coming together as he sees it.
Yeah, it did hit the end zone and bounced. I thought it hit the crossbar the way it looked. Still, it had plenty of distance. It got all the way to the end zone, right? So yeah. You gain a couple more yards there. I don't know. It's just this team. It's hard to watch. The expectation level this year, this is what's frustrating about the whole situation, right? Like, this team is built to win. The last 2 years, they really weren't. Last year, a little bit better. Obviously, the year before that was just awful. This team is built to win. They should be winning games. More than 4. You said it in our text thread, right? Like, how close they could be right now to having 6 wins, 7 wins versus the 4 that they have now. And I guess you could throw the Tennessee game, could flip that opposite way, right? But still,
it's not even that. We keep going back to the key game, which was Washington, because Washington is a contender. You were on the road. You played a crap game and still could have beat a good team on the road. You do that, you're 5-2. I don't know that they collapse and lay an egg against Arizona the next week, but even if you do, you're 5-3. You should have won this game. And I get what you're saying, you could have lost the Tennessee game, but they should have been 5-2. That goes into the category of games where you're 90-something% likely to win and lose, which is an Eberflus thing.
What did you say it got through today? Only 84? Only 84% probability?
Well, I didn't look today.
Oh, someone texted it. Maybe it was Bob. Said it was an 84% probability of winning in the fourth quarter today.
Maybe, but several times in the Eberflus era, you had wins that are losses. And that's just, like you said, maybe last year because the team wasn't as good, you could say, oh, well, we just don't have the talent. You have it now, and you're squandering it. And really, I mean, it felt coming into this game that like the season was over, but this kind of stamps it. I mean, you keep saying like, yeah, they're going to show up on the In the Hunt graphic. I mean, they're going to have to really string together quite an impressive stretch to go from being in the hunt to actually what matters, which is clinching and making the playoffs. I don't see how it happens. I mean, winning today would have been huge. You would have went to 5-5. They would have, Green Bay would have gone to what, 6-4, I believe.
Yeah.
But again, woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Yeah. So, okay. Let's just end it with one final question then. Because I'm sorry, guys. I'm not feeling well. I'm not. My energy's not here. I'm not ranting like I normally would. I'm in a lot of pain. So, we talked about the potential of Matt Eberflus being fired after this game if it was a blowout. That's clearly not what happened. I highly doubt the McCaskies are willing to cut bait at this point. But let's say they struggle to get through the rest of the season. Let's even say this gives them a chance now to get 3 more wins. They have another 7-10 season on the year, right? I know in the beginning of the year I said Eberflus was coming back no matter what. I just had that feeling that the McCaskies weren't going to let anything change. The Waldron firing gave me a little bit of hope that there's something in line for Eberflus at the end of the year if things don't go well. But I think if they don't make the playoffs, no matter what that record is, I'm at the point where I think he might actually be gone. I don't know. What do you think making the playoffs is the only way that they say he saves his job?
I mean, I can't even answer that question because I just don't even see how they make the playoffs. And I think he will lose his job after the season. My dream scenario, well, I have 2 dream scenarios because I feel like this year they should have already had Ben Johnson as their head coach. And I think we'd be seeing a whole different thing. Not to mention if you're struggling in year 1 with an offensive coach that's making a bond to your quarterback of the future, I'd have no problem if they're sitting at 4-6 and developing an important rapport that's going to lead to victories down the line. Go ahead.
Before you go to point 2, did you see some of the highlights from the Detroit Lions game?
No, I was locked in on Bears.
The guy is like a master manipulator up there. I mean, I know Jacksonville's a bad team, right? And Mac Jones is at quarterback now, not Trevor Lawrence. But they just manhandle. Look, it's very rare that you and I will choose a team to bet that is a plus or a minus double digits.
Yeah, 14.
Right? 2 touchdowns. Like, that's not even like 10, right?
Yeah,
like
that's college spread.
14. They
covered it easily.
It was a bloodbath up there. Down there, I don't know who was at home, but it was a bloodbath. I mean,
it was in Detroit. But what do you think is going to happen on Thanksgiving? That's who the Bears are playing, my man. I mean, I'm a little worried, but
a lot of people thought the Packers were going to score 30+ today. I was not one of them, but I had them at 28. So I was pretty.
I thought I was going to be bragging on this show today because I told you and Bob before the game even started, I feel like the Bears are going to win this game. Could have, whatever. But
what was
no? I mean, Ben Johnson's still the guy I would love to see replace Matt Eberflus.
Yes.
But I don't know that he would want to come here the way things look consistently like they're just a losing franchise. But my other dream scenario would be, however this season ends, if the offense is starting to look better, which we have now one game of evidence to show that it looked a lot better today than it had in many weeks leading up to this and overall for the season. But if the offense really starts to click down the stretch and Thomas Brown seems like he's making a connection with Caleb Williams, this idea of continuity, if you're going to stick with continuity, if he can be your head coach, and it's like the start, because they don't like to hire guys with experience. Even Ben Johnson, let's be honest, he doesn't have experience as a head coach. We don't know what he would be. But if you get this guy and he's young and he makes a connection with your quarterback, I'm saying a lot of this because he looks like Mike Tomlin, but I'm not saying he's as good, but I would love for him to develop. Again, this is my dream. So splash water on me. I'll wake up. None of this will happen or even be possible. But if he can be kind of a Tomlin type, because Tomlin's been in his role for so many years, and not once has he been under 500. And again, this year, I mean, they're just rolling. That would be a dream scenario for me. But one way or another, it's got to be the end for Eberflus, and replacing him with an offensive guy who can link up with Caleb Williams would be great. Depending on how bad they finish, Rob, they may have a top 10 pick, and shoring up this offensive line, you still have a decent roster, I think, that somebody who has an offensive mind would love to come and coach. Maybe there's hope for next year, but how many times have we said that as Bears fans?
Yeah.
I didn't think we'd be saying it this early.
No, it's getting old. It's getting old.
So.
I got nothing else. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, that's okay. It's a remote for me. I feel like I shouldn't have to travel the extra mile. It's not even a mile there and back. It's less than a mile. But why am I going to go the extra mile for this?
It actually is a mile there and back because I used to run it.
My app said 0.8.
Okay. All right. You're right. I took the long way around the block.
There you go. There you go. But they don't get the extra mile from me. It was raining out there. I'm just like, nah.
Yeah.
If this was to discuss the Bears ending the streak against the Packers, I'd be sitting in that chair right next to you.
And I think I could stomach the pain a little bit better and actually have some oomph in my communication right now. I just don't have it.
Pun intended, huh? All right. Well, we gave it our all.
Yeah. For everyone who's listening still, will say after this Bears jersey giveaway, and maybe I'll show it on not the midweek podcast, but the next one with Justin. The next giveaway will actually be a Urlacher picture that will come in a frame, and it is of the famous "They Are Who We Thought They Were" Arizona game.
Nice.
So yeah, just a tackle. It's not the fumble. I don't think. I'd have to look at it, but I don't think it's the fumble. So anyway, we'll be giving that away.
I just checked. We're at 690 subscribers at the moment. 10 away from the big giveaway.
Guys, 10. That's nothing.
Let's go. We got this, guys. All right.
From now, and leave some comments. Definitely leave some comments. But for now, bear down, claws up.